Hey friends, my name is Ravi and welcome to the It's Not That Serious podcast. Learn and grow with me on my journey of self-love and betterment. I'll take my experiences and topics to inspire growth, change, and overall self-satisfaction. Hey guys, it's Ravi. Welcome back to another podcast episode. It's been a little bit since I've posted. Honestly, it hasn't really been that long. I'm acting like it's been forever, but it's only been 2 months. But the last time I posted an episode was in January with my friend Emily. We were talking about our New Year's resolutions, goals that we're planning to set for ourselves, how we see and envision our 2024, how we're going to change specific things that we went about in 2023, all that stuff. And we were very reflective in that. So if you want to check that out, it's a really good episode. But the reason why I haven't been active on here or posting anything is because I was actually in Cancun for a whole month. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why I went to Cancun, how I was able to stay there for free, the things I did, the culture, the people I met, my mindset going in versus out, basically my itinerary and things I brought, all that stuff, all the good stuff. So yeah, we're just going to dive right into it. So first off, I want to talk about why I even chose Cancun, how I ended up there. So a little background. Last spring, I was in Hawaii. And while I was there, my friend had reached out to me and she was just like, I kind of want to be a traveling yoga instructor. And as she told me this, I was on my way to do paddleboard yoga, like I said, in Hawaii. So I was like, this is very fitting with the situation I'm currently in. But that sounds dope as fuck. I want to do that. So she was telling me all about getting certified and then World Packers, which is the reason why I was able to do all this. We're going to get into it. Yeah, she was telling me about that and I started doing more research. So I started to work on my certification and was teaching yoga in my hometown just to get experience, see what it's like, because I do enjoy yoga. I do have my own practice where I do it by myself. I'll stretch every day. I'll go to yoga classes, studios, whether it's inside, outside, at a beach, park, an actual indoor studio. And so I was like, that'd be a lot of fun. That's something I definitely want to do. That's when I started looking into World Packers. And everything I'm going to talk about is all purely from my knowledge, my experience. None of it is sponsored or advertised at all. So I started doing more research on World Packers, on what it is. And basically it is a work exchange volunteer program. And there's hosts all over the world looking for specific skill sets. Or not specific skill sets, they're looking for a wide variety of skill sets. It really depends on the host. So like I said, there's hosts everywhere in the world. And with World Packers, you just pay a membership, a one-time annual membership. You just look on there. You can look for specific skills that they're looking for or different types of volunteer work. So for example, there are hosts looking for receptionists or adventure guides, photography, videography. There's even one in Costa Rica where you can save the turtles. You do housekeeping. At the hostel I was specifically at, there was receptionists, party promoters, tour promoters, admin people, and then me, the yoga instructor. And with these skill sets, for you giving your work and hours, also each host is looking for a different amount of hours. So it really depends on that person, on that host, and then you read the description and all that stuff. Some of them also ask for a deposit. Some of them don't. It really depends. Most or not all do accommodate you with a free hostel. You can stay there for the duration of you providing your work. For me, we were also given a free lunch every day. Other hosts sometimes will give you a free lunch, breakfast, and dinner, or just breakfast, dinner, or just lunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner, stuff like that. Again, it really depends. And so I was like, okay, with my skill set of being a yoga teacher, I want to try doing yoga in a different country, because that was the idea that sparked my brain thanks to my friend. I was looking up on World Packers yoga instructing, and then I was applying to some in Costa Rica, in Cancun. I saw one in Bali. But then some of them did ask for a resume and an interview. So it really depends on what you're going for. And when I saw the one in Cancun, I applied for it. And within a few hours, the host reached out to me and was like, welcome to the team. And I was like, oh shit, like it was literally so quick. But I chose my hours. When I was applying, it was like in the fall. And then I applied to go in February because I knew it was going to be raining and cloudy at that time. I did not want to be here for it, which today outside my window on the other side of my camera is rain and clouds. But anyway, yeah, I was like, I want to be in the sun. I want to be in hot, humid, beachy weather. So that's why I decided to go in February. Well, January and pretty much all of February I went. So that's how I was able to stay there for free and how I was able to afford that. Also with the currency, so Mexican pesos versus US dollars, the conversion rate is like 1 USD is like 15 to 17 pesos. It really depends. I feel like I keep saying that. It really depends, but like the conversion rates kind of change, especially if you're getting it from like an ATM or like a bank exchange vendor. But that isn't to say like just because it is cheaper, that's not to say it doesn't not add up. You know, like it does add up. And so at the end, I did spend a lot because I'm the type of person that likes to get the full experience when I go to places. So I'm kind of like, fuck it, money's going to come back. And it's deciding to bite me in the ass. But you know what? I'm rich in memories. I'm rich in experience. So let's say my bank account's a little broke. Money's going to come back. Oh, I also did want to throw out there too, like, I did learn so much from being in Cancun, not only just about the culture, but other people I met there. So being in the hostel, if you've never been in one before, the experience is very, very different than staying in an Airbnb or a hotel because it is a shared dorm. There's other people in your room. And also depending on the hostel, like sometimes it's a room with both guys and girls or just girls, just guys. It really depends again. But this was my first time staying in a hostel. It was actually my first time for a lot of things. So first time in a hostel, first time being exposed and surrounded by so many different cultures and like-minded people, but also like different because, you know, not everyone's the same. But I learned so many things from other people and they learned things from me and it was so beautiful. My first time being in a different country by myself and being out of the country for more than 2 weeks. Because I've been to the Philippines for 2 weeks and that was with family. But like I said, solo travel, and this was my first time there. First time solo traveling. First time for all of that. And so the crazy thing too is that most people will be like, oh, solo traveling, that is so scary. That's something you see on social media, but never really know anyone personally or close to you that actually goes and does that. And then when you think, oh, you were there for a whole month, like that's such a long time. If you're from the US, that's your mentality. But if you're not from the US, 1 month is very short. Solo travel is very normalized. Traveling in general is very normalized. But I think in the US, the culture is just very different because how the system works is very oriented around, okay, you're going to school, and then after school, you just want to go straight into college so you can get a higher education, get a higher job, and then just work. And then our PTO is shit. But I don't want to shit on our government or like the US, at least not on social media. But meeting like all these different people from around the world, especially Europeans, like I was hearing about the crazy amount of PTO they have that we don't have, and how even like straight out of high school, I met so many Europeans, specifically Germans, because like there's just so many Germans. I think there was a good portion of my trip where I was just with Germans, and it got to a point where I kind of forgot I was in Mexico. Most of the Germans I did meet were like 18, 19, fresh out of high school, and they were traveling. And that's the jaw-dropping fact when I was telling my friends, it's like, bruh, straight out of high school, how do they afford that? Are they not scared? Like, what the heck? It's very normal to them. And they just save up their money. And there are ways to travel for cheap. Like I said, if you're going to a different country and then staying in hostels and volunteering, it does save you a lot of money because a lot of the expensive stuff is where you stay and what you're eating. Yeah, that was a crazy thing. And it was very fun and enjoyable to be able to learn so many things about what it's like in Europe, in South America. Like I met so many Brazilians, Peruvians, a lot of Canadians, and then, like I said, Germans. And then I was also meeting people from like France, Spain, Italy, Australia, just so many people. And just hearing the mindset that they have. Like I said, a month to us, at least, to Americans, we think that's such a long time. Like, how can you afford that? How are you there for that long and like not working, you know? But with the people I met, 1 month was like the minimum that they were traveling. A lot of the people I met were going from Cancun and traveling south into like Guatemala, Costa Rica, and then just like keep going down, you know, into Latin America. Or they were going from Cancun, which is the east side, all the way down to the west side into like Mexico City, and just kept going. And they were all backpacking. That's not something I ever really understood or even thought of until meeting all these people and just hearing about their travel trips and journeys. I even met this girl who's my age, and she traveled the whole entire world by herself for a year. And she's American. I was like, bro, that is so unheard of. Like, that is not normal, you know? But props to her. It's really inspiring to like hear stuff like that. But when I met her, her last night was in Cancun, and she was like, yeah, I'm going back home tomorrow. But I was in Australia, and then I went to Asia, and then Europe, South America, and then I worked my way up. Now I'm in Cancun. I'm going back home. And I was like, bro, what? And she was just like, yeah, I was saving up all this money to fund my year-long trip. Hearing stuff like that, I'm just like, wow. A lot of the people I met too, they were just getting up and moving from country to country. I met this other Canadian who was like, yeah, I don't really feel like living in Canada anymore. I kind of want to live in Australia. I've never been there, but I want to move there. So I'm making my way down. And she was just traveling from Central America and then South America. And she's like, I'm eventually just going to make my way down to Australia. And I'm like, that is so freaking cool. So it's like, I've heard way more stories too. So these are just like the ones that stood out to me. And you could think of like the shock I had. What? Like, people do this shit? And constantly hearing stories like that of how people were just up and leaving really solidified to me that it's actually as simple as said, you know? I think a lot of the reasons why people don't just do stuff like that is because their anxiety, their fear of what's gonna happen. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm gonna encounter. I don't know where life's gonna take me. But that's the thing. It's just like, you have an idea, just go for it. You're never gonna be sure of what's gonna happen. You never are sure of who you're gonna meet. But you just trust the process and you just go, and everything is going to play out the way it's supposed to. You're gonna meet the people you're supposed to. And as long as you're genuine, true to yourself, and doing all the things that make you happy, you're going to meet people who are like-minded and also genuine in liking the interests that you have, because it's the same interests. Like, there's no fakeness there, you know? Like I said, I met so many Germans, right? The culture shock on top of what I just talked about is also how normalized smoking is. Here in the US, we smoke like vape. We smoke vape. Why does that sound so millennial of me? Like, here everyone vapes, but then you go into more public areas and it's like no smoking, smoke-free zone, go outside to smoke. And it's very like, it's more frowned upon. Whereas in Germany, or I don't want to like state the wrong facts, maybe in Europe. I'm just going to say Germany, because I know for sure in Germany, they smoke cigarettes very socially and it's very normalized. So even with the Germans I was with, they're 18, 19, and they just had their packs and lighters and they were just like smoking, and they're like, oh, you want it? And I'm just like, no, I don't smoke. And it was like uncomfortable for me at first, because I'm just like, I'm not used to this. Not saying it's wrong. It's just more looked down on in the US. But then seeing that it's so normal for them, I'm like, that's different. Another cultural difference that I noticed was our metric system. We use inches or feet and miles, stuff like that. They use, when I say they, I'm literally like everyone else. Well, Canada, it's like a mixture of both. So, because it is North America. So it's a little bit of like what the US uses in their metric system and then what other countries use. Yes, other ones will use kilometers, but we'll use miles and then, or meters instead of feet. For temperature, we use Fahrenheit, but then others use Celsius. Kilograms is what others use, we use pounds. So it was just like really weird because I was carrying this really big water bottle. I have it right here. I was carrying around this water bottle, which is like 64 ounces, but people were asking me and I'm like, oh, like 64 ounces. And they're like, I don't know what that is in liters. And I'm like, I don't fucking know either. So I had to look it up. It was 2 liters. So I kind of just started being like, okay, liters. There was this one girl, she had a suitcase and she's like, how heavy do you think this is? Like 5? She just said 5. Like, you think this is 5? And I picked it up and I'm like, no, it's not 5. That's like 20 or something like that. And she was like, 20 kilograms? And I'm like, oh no, I thought you were talking about pounds. And she was like, no, I don't know what that is in kilograms. And I'm like, me either. Yeah, I'm just like, why does the US have to be so annoying? Why do we have to be so different than everyone else? You know, like, why don't we all just be the same? Why don't we just fit in? My Brazilian friend also pointed this out because we were talking about accents. So obviously there's different accents, not only for countries, but even in the US, like you can tell someone from New York and from New Jersey and California, they're all from different states, you know? And she mentioned how it's the way our jaws work. We have different jaws that move in different ways. So we speak differently. So my Brazilian friend, she was telling me that they don't make the sound th, the, or th, something like that. And I was like, whoa, that's so interesting, you know? Or like how in Spanish, the V and B sound the same. I don't know, I feel like I was always really insecure about my American accent speaking Spanish too, because obviously there's an accent when you speak Spanish, and then when I say it, especially because I grew up around a lot of Mexicans too, so it's like them speaking Spanish and saying words with their accent and then me saying it all American. It was just like, oh, that sounds really odd, you know? So I was insecure about that, but being there, I was like, you know what, like, what are you going to do about it? It's the way I talk, you know? At least I'm speaking Spanish. At least I'm trying. I'm learning. That was another thing too, with the language barrier. So in Cancun specifically, there are a lot of tourists. Therefore, a lot of people there, a lot of locals and workers do speak English, but some of them didn't speak English at all. So there were some barriers there. I was a little embarrassed because I did take 3 years of Spanish in high school, but I never practiced it after high school. But like I said, I have a lot of Spanish friends. I live in Southern California, so there are a lot of Mexicans, Mexican culture, like all that stuff. And I'm surrounded by Spanish speakers, you know, like I'm familiar with it. I eat a lot of Mexican food. I love Mexican food. I was eating it like every day there. I was eating tacos, and even coming back, I'm still eating like tacos, burritos, and all that stuff every day. I also have a sister-in-law who speaks Spanish, and me being Filipino, we speak Tagalog. There's Spanish words in there. There's a lot of Spanish culture in our culture, you know? So I was kind of like, that's a little disappointing. I should know a little more, but I did use that to my advantage. I also was discrediting myself, kind of putting myself down for not knowing, when in reality it's like, what are you gonna do? Oh my God, the sun's starting to come out a little bit. So if the light's changing, that's why. It's also kind of bright, especially because the cloud's like so white, so I'm a little blinded right now. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I did start picking up on Spanish there like a little faster. My Spanish is still a little rough, but I am practicing still, and I'm on Duolingo. Even though Duolingo, I feel like it doesn't help because it's not like actual authentic like conversating, and it's not parallel to how people actually conversate in real life, you know? But it is what it is. I'm gonna keep practicing though. I do plan on going back to Mexico. I do plan on making more Spanish speaking friends because, you know, I'm going to do, also with my new job, I did have to talk to people in Spanish because they didn't understand any English. And I was like, bet, I love a little challenge. So I did my best. Another thing in Mexico, the freaking plates. Okay, so instead of them like handing out plates and then you like eat on it and give it back to them and they wash it, they put plastic on it. And sometimes it's not like a plastic plate, it's a styrofoam plate, and then they put plastic on it and then you like eat and you give it back to them, and then they just take off the plastic, they reuse the plate and put a new plastic on. That was a little sketchy to me, only because if the food's really hot, it melts through the plastic. And then there was one meal I had, I forgot the name of it, but there was cheese and chorizo on it. It was on the plastic and on the styrofoam, and the cheese completely melted through both plastic and styrofoam. And so I was eating it and I was like, dude, I could see the table through my plate. And eating that cheese, I knew damn well there was melted shit on there, and I was just like, it tastes so good, but fuck it. You know, I did feel a little bit like shit after, but it was so good. I'm hungry now. We're gonna move on to pretty much my itinerary. So what I did there. Like I said, I went to Cancun specifically to teach yoga. Also, I'm gonna backtrack a little, not backtrack, I'm gonna switch topics, even though I was starting to go into that topic. It just sparked a little side note in my brain, which just faded away. What the fuck? I don't fucking remember. But if I do remember, we'll say it. We'll talk about it. But anyway, so yeah, my itinerary, what I did. Like I said, I went to go to, oh, I remember. Okay, so my expectations. This is another tri-tip beef. What? When I was going to Cancun, my only expectations were teach yoga, meet people, those two. And because I had pretty much very little, like pretty much no expectations, my expectations were completely exceeded. Like I had the time of my life. I was so happy. I was so grateful. My mindset has changed. And again, we'll talk about that later. I was literally like, I'm just going to teach yoga. I'm going to meet people. But because of that, because of all the people I met, I was constantly doing stuff every single day. I was constantly meeting at least 3 new people every single day. And then I'd go in the dorms and I would just talk to my volunteer friends. And even my friends and sister have asked me, did your social battery not drain and not run out? But for me specifically, like I'm very extroverted. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. So I was feeling recharged the whole time. And then the hostel I was at specifically had curtains. So at night and in the morning, I did have my alone time. I also was one of the people that slept the earliest and woke up the earliest. So that was nice, except when they would come in at like 3 a.m. drunk and loud and turning on the lights. And I'm just like, bro, I have to teach yoga in the morning. Anyway, back to my itinerary. What I did specifically as a volunteer through World Packers, I taught yoga 6 times a week. So just for 1 hour, Monday through Saturday, I taught yoga from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And that was it. That was all I had to do. Super easy, super simple. And I had the rest of the day off to do whatever. So I would meet people and I would just do different things. And the days I had off, so like on the weekends, I would do another trip in a different city. I honestly didn't even know what to check out in Mexico, what cities to visit, what things to do. I literally was like, I'm just going to Cancun and go with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. And through that, I was meeting so many people who were like, yeah, I'm in Cancun for today. And then tomorrow I'm going to Playa del Carmen. Then I'm going to be in Tulum. Then I'm going to Bacalar. And then I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And it was like that. So from there, I was meeting so many people telling me their itinerary. And I kind of just like picked up on what was attainable for me to do. And then I just went and did that. My day-to-day, it was pretty much just, I would teach yoga and then somehow I would meet like new people. I would go to the beach. I'd go to the Cocobongo Beach Club, which was amazing. It was $35 US if you paid for it at the hostel. And then when you got there, you pay like the rest of it. And then it was open bar, so you could get as drunk as you want. There was a show. There was like the go-go dancers there, the people working there. There was a pool. There would be like beer drinking competitions. There would be twerking competitions, pull-up competition. And it was like right on the other side. When you go outside is the beach. Beautiful, beautiful beaches too. It was blue waters, white sand, amazing. So you could just go down there, go for a little swim, and then just come back up to the beach club. Did stuff like that. Our hostel every day was like a different activity. So there was like guacamole lessons. So you would sit there and watch the teacher like tell you how to make guacamole, and then you can make it and then eat it. There was taco tours. So you just walk around, you'd meet other people from the hostel. And then the tour guide just took us to all these different taco stands and we paid for it. So delicious. Then there was beach days with the hostel. So I would meet people from there and just making friends with the volunteers. We're basically living together, so we became very close very fast, and then we would just plan things together too. Like I said, I was in Cancun for the whole month, but like my last week, I did travel to other cities. And I made this like arrangement with my host there. He basically gave our group an offer of like, if you get a certain amount of reviews, then you can get your last week off. But you'll still, like off as in like you're not working, but you still have the accommodations, you know? And so I got my 10 reviews on how my yoga classes were, how good they were. I was such a good teacher. And I sent them to him, so I had my last week off and I was able to explore. On my last week, I did solo travel to Isla Holbox, which is an island like north of Cancun. That was like a 2-hour bus ride. Oh, public transportation there was easy peasy, really cheap too. Went up there, went on the island by myself, met people there. And this is another thing I did because I didn't get accommodated for the hostels I was staying at on the trips not volunteering, because obviously like I'm not doing the work accommodation there. I downloaded an app called Hostel World. Again, not sponsored, just things I heard and connections I made. So Hostel World, you're able to book hostels on there. And after you book the hostel, there's like a group chat that you're in for the city that you're visiting and for the hostel there. So like you can meet people and be like, hey guys, I'm going to this hostel. I'm going to be here at this time, blah, blah. Does anyone want to do this with me? And then people will respond, and then you can easily meet people through there too. Or just meet them through the activities that your hostel is hosting. So yeah, I went to Isla Holbox. I just met a French guy who was sitting outside of the hostel. And then through the app, I met this Italian girl. And it was really fun. Like I went and got drinks with her. I got tacos with the French guy. The next morning, I grabbed my stuff, I left, and then I took like a 5.5-hour bus ride to Merida. And that's where I met another friend of mine that I met in Cancun. So we stayed in Merida. Super beautiful there. I was doing some research on that. I was messaging some people that I've met that said they were going to Merida. Also, my sister-in-law has been there. So I was just asking her about that. I was able to do this free walking tour. And it was a 2-hour long tour. They just walked us around like specific areas in Merida, told us like the history and background of it. It was super cool. We walked around. We did a lot of walking. Honestly, like, I'm very active in the gym. I was very consistent prior to going to Cancun, but after Cancun, or being in Cancun, I felt a little guilty for not weightlifting, but I was still really active because all the walking, like, bro, I think I grew my legs that way too. So yeah, I was in Merida for 2 days with my friend. We got like a tandem bike and we biked around the city, ate a lot of food. We had marcasitas. If you don't know what that is, it's like a really crunchy crepe. It's like a crepe, but then they like fill it with cheese and you can put like fruits in it, Nutella, and then they roll it up and you eat it. Oh my God, I'm like burping a bunch right now talking about food. Super sweet, super good. Loved it. Yeah, so we were just traveling. My last week I was traveling Yucatan state. After Merida, we walked to the bus station, met another one of our friends that we also met in Cancun in Valladolid. And there, it's also a really historical, beautiful city too. Very close to Chichen Itza, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. A lot of people go there. I don't know too much of the history on that. I didn't go just because of the time crunch I was on. And I didn't want to spend more money on a tour guide to it. I also saw enough pictures and videos from my friends that I made, so I was like, I don't see the reason in me going. But Valladolid, around it, there's a lot of cenotes, like beautiful, beautiful cenotes. And what I was told is the cenotes were from that meteor that freaking hit Earth and then made all the dinosaurs extinct. When it like hit the Earth and exploded, little like fragments of it made these cenotes, so like little caves in the ground, and it's filled with water. It's super like sacred and ancient.
ancient. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sacred and ancient. And with that, like, you can't wear sunscreen, you can't wear bug spray because they need to preserve the water. You know, if you're wearing sunscreen and bug spray, it kind of just makes the water nasty. But yeah, so Valladolid, and then I came back and then went to Cocobongo again with my friends and not celebrated, but kind of just like went out and spent time with each other because it was my last night there. My last day there, I'm basically like jumping ahead because I was going to say my itinerary of my whole trip, but I jumped to the last week. Anyway, I got this tattoo. Super cute. I hope y'all can see that. I'll talk about it later when I'm like recapping or closing up the podcast episode. Anyway, so the first 3 weeks I was there, like I said, I was teaching yoga 6 times a week. I was also going to places like Playa del Carmen. I went there with other friends I made through the hostel. So more Germans. Like I said, I was meeting so many Germans. They taught me some things. Like I learned some German and Portuguese, learned more Spanish, but I don't remember any of the Portuguese or German I learned. And Italian. I was like, oh yeah, teach me everything. And I don't remember, but you know, it's the thought that counts. Because at the time, it was really cool learning about it. Yeah, so on one of my days off, I went to Playa del Carmen. I went to Tulum with a group of my friends. We got an Airbnb. We stayed in Tulum. We rode scooters around there. We went to this art walk. We went to cenotes there, ate delicious food, went to the beach there. And when we were riding the scooters around the city, it was raining the whole time. So there was puddles everywhere. Our feet were getting soaked. Our whole entire body was getting soaked because it was pouring rain, but it was like super fun. I was enjoying, like, it was miserable being wet and cold, but it was so much fun. And it was an experience that I will never forget. This whole trip I'll never forget, but like that day was definitely like one of my favorite days. Oh, I went to Isla Mujeres. You ride a colectivo, which is like a minivan, or you'll ride a bus. That's how the public transportation works. You'll ride on one of those to the ferry station, and then you ride like a 20-minute ferry to the island. And on the island, there's like a bunch of stuff you can do. I went there twice. So the first time I went, we just went to the beach and we ate, took pictures, all that stuff. And we just talked and hung out. The second time I went was with the British friend I made, and we rode golf carts there, met up with this other girl that I met. I forget which state she's from, but she's from the US. We just sat on the beach and watched the sunset. It was really beautiful. Went to more cenotes with some friends. A lot of the time I went to beaches, was getting drunk. The tequila there went down like water. It was very dangerous. I highly recommend. Oh, the activities that our hostels held. Our hostel, it was just one hostel. Our hostel held like karaoke night or drinking games. The other stuff that I mentioned earlier, those were more of like daytime activities, but the ones I'm saying right now, it's like karaoke, drinking games, all that stuff, that was more of like nighttime activities, so more people would be up on the rooftop. But also the time I went was around the off season, so the rooftop wasn't like popping too much. There was also salsa night, people were salsa dancing. Beautiful. Very fun time. Speaking of freaking tequila going down like water, there was one time I got into the beach club. I went to that beach club like 5 times, bro. It was very much worth it. I had so much fun. I met so many people through there too. There was one time I went, and my friend who was a volunteer, she was the party promoter. She would take people from the hostel to the beach club. And the day that I went, I met up with my brother and sister because, well, my brother and sister-in-law and their kid. They were in Cancun, and so I went to go meet up with them. Then they were leaving to go back to California. So I was like, okay, I'll just go to the beach. But since it's right across the beach that I was at specifically, it was right across the beach club. So I decided to go there and kind of just like sunbathe, have a nice relaxing nap on the beach because I was so tired and sleep deprived. And I ended up messaging my friend who's the party promoter. She was like, yeah, like I'm here. Maybe I can get you in for free. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I'm down if I can go in for free and drink for free. Like, why not? Who's going to say no to free stuff? She just like came up to me, and not even 5 seconds go by, and one of the workers had a wristband. She was like, you want to come in? And so I decided to go in, and I was like, hell yeah. But the group that she took from the hostel was very, very small. It ended up being just like one person, when usually it'll be like 15 plus people. And she doesn't stay the whole time, especially if the group is small, just because she's going like all the time. And so she ended up leaving early. I met the girl that came from the hostel, but she ended up leaving early. So I made friends with another girl who she ended up leaving early too. And at this point, I'm like, wow, I've never been to a club by myself, being around people I've never ever met or known, but I was meeting a lot of other solo travelers too, or people who were like coming with like some of their friends or one of their friends. And it's so easy to meet people, especially if you are solo traveling, because you're kind of forced to talk to people and be social, especially if you're kind of lost or not knowing what to do or where to go. It's very easy to meet people. With every person I met, I went and took a shot with them and I got so fucked up. And then at the end of the night, I was like they were closing and I met this group of guys. There was like 7 or 8 of them and they're like, yeah, like they were so chill, they were super cool, but they were like, yeah, we're going back to our Airbnb after, like, you want to come join us? And I was like, fuck no, I'm not gonna do that. So I rode the bus back, and of course, with my freaking luck, me being drunk and alone, I'm on the bus breaks down, and I'm like texting my friends, my volunteer friends on WhatsApp. Also, like, if you're from the US, you don't use WhatsApp a lot because there's not a reason to, but like everyone uses WhatsApp. They use WhatsApp more than like actual texting, I feel like. But yeah, so I was like texting people on WhatsApp and I was like, guys, I'm drunk and alone. The bus broke down, and like they're like, send me your location, are you okay, like blah blah blah, like we'll check on you, do you need us to come get you? And I was like, oh my god, I'm loved. I love that. That's like my love language, when people are like showing up for me, like texting me and like reassuring me. Reassurance goes a long way. Anyway, I ended up following everyone who got off the bus. The sun is coming out again. I ended up following everyone coming off the bus, and another bus came, so we just went on it, and we had to stand because the bus was like super packed, and I'm over here like holding on for dear life because I'm like, I'm so drunk, I'm gonna fall over. Made it back. I was safe, I was fine. I went and ate my volunteer food. It was a grand old time. Definitely a story for the books. Yeah, I was like, I almost died, but no, we Gucci. That was a good experience. All right, so that was pretty much my itinerary. That was not a well-organized itinerary, but you get the gist of what I've done and what I did. What I've done, like I did something bad. Now I'm gonna go into like the things I packed. Honestly, I was like doing research a week before of what I should pack, and I brought a lot of bathing suits. I brought a lot of flowy pants because, you know, it's really comfy. And also when your bathing suit's wet, you don't want to put on like jean shorts, you know? Or at least I specifically don't. So putting on flowy pants, chef's kiss. I did bring shorts. I brought a lot of tank tops and tube tops. I was just going to bring Air Forces, but I ended up getting Tevas. So it's like those sandals that have Velcro straps. And honestly, like the reviews were insane about how good they were. There were like 5-star ratings. The reviews were saying how cute they were, how comfy they were, how they're very durable. They lasted the whole trip. People would wear them the whole entire trip. And I was like, okay, like I'll get it. It was like $50 or $60. Got it. And I 100% was like, I see what the hype is. And even when I was in Cancun, like everyone was wearing Tevas. And it's because like there's a little bit of a arch in it to help your feet. They're really comfy. Like, you know how I said earlier, I was walking so much. I was walking in my Tevas for like hours on end and my feet were not hurting. Like they were so comfy. I think though, because like I did start getting blisters because my Tevas were wet and had a little bit of sand in them. So like the rubbing and friction on my feet caused the blistering. But when my feet were dry, when the Tevas were dry, it was super comfy. I did bring like all my bathroom essentials and all that stuff. I brought a suitcase and a backpack because when you do your day trips, when I was going to the beach and all that stuff, you want to have extra stuff. I just like to have extra stuff with me, extra clothes, sunscreen, money and all that stuff. I had a wallet too. Usually like I have just like a wallet that holds my cards, but the wallet I brought there was like one where you can put like actual physical dollars in because I was getting pesos, you know, and I don't want to like shove that all into like a card wallet. I didn't bring towels because towels were there. I should have brought my shampoo and conditioner because at the hostels I thought they would be provided, but they weren't. So I ended up buying shampoo and conditioner there, and then I just brought it back home with me. But things that I wish I brought, so it was stuff that I was seeing other solo travelers bringing. And it was backpacking. Like I said, a lot of them were doing a lot more traveling prior to or like after their trip in Cancun. So they were bringing backpacks because they were backpacking. They were just like being on the road, and having a suitcase is very inconvenient because all the little bumps and having to drag it. It's so much easier when you have a backpack. So I was doing like more research on that after my trip, and I am ordering a backpack because I'm planning to do more trips. Yeah, so they had like a big backpack with majority of their clothes and then like a backpack in the front. And that was the one I would use for like daily activities. I don't have like the backpacking backpack, but like the mini backpack, yeah, like definitely recommend that too. I also wish I had packing cubes prior to my trip. I realized that was a really big thing that you need because it saves space. It makes your stuff really organized and it's just very helpful. I was just shoving shit in there. And especially when you are traveling, you want to keep space in your luggage because when you travel, you want to bring souvenirs. You're going to see stuff, especially for me. Like I said, a lot of things are cheaper there. So I was getting blankets and towels and all these souvenirs that I thought were really cute. Like I got these cute flowy pants from there. And I surprisingly was able to like fit it into my suitcase, but also my friend, she helped me pack and I was also on a time crunch my last day. So it was really helpful that she was like rolling up my clothes for me. But yeah, so stuff I packed like bathroom essentials, journal, book. I read a lot when I was on the beach too. Sunglasses for sure. You need sunglasses. At least in Cancun, it was so freaking bright there. The sun was intense. If you didn't have sunglasses, oh my gosh, like I don't know how you can see. It's blinding. Oh, this water bottle that I was saying. This was a lifesaver because it was so hot in Cancun and I'm just naturally a thirsty ass hoe. Like I was drinking water constantly and I was with people who were like, oh, like I'm thirsty, I need to go buy water, or like I'm dying, I'm dehydrated, and there was no supermarket around or gas station around. And so they would just like drink some of my water. So it was very helpful having this. But when I came back from Cancun, I found out that there's a thing that's a collapsible water bottle. So I got the same size water bottle, but it's one that when it's empty, you can like fold it up and then shove it into your bag. You know damn well I'm going to be taking that on my next trip. And then some travel tips that I have. Oh my gosh, get an eSIM. I did not know this because, okay, I'm very grateful, very fortunate, very privileged that I don't pay for my phone bills, but I don't know how that shit works. I don't know how the SIM card works and how going international and having to pay for an international phone plan, like I don't know how that works. I was told that getting a SIM card is a lot cheaper than doing the international plan with your carrier. I asked my dad and he was like, okay, like I'll just deal with it. And I'm like, no, now I feel bad. Let me just keep my phone on airplane mode for majority of my trip. You know, that didn't follow through for like the last bit of my trip. Especially when I was on that 5.5 hour bus ride. I got bored, so I was on my phone texting people and I was just like, oh, that's not good. I'm probably gonna have my dad pay so much. I'm so sorry, father. But a lot of people were going to Telcel and getting a physical SIM card. I think it's a lot easier when you purchase an eSIM online. So you just do your research on like what eSIM is more affordable and a better plan for where you're going. So there's like local eSIMs. So if you're just going to like Cancun, for example, or just like Mexico, you can get an eSIM for that general location. And then you can get a travel plan for like how many days are you going? And then it's going to give you a certain amount of gigabytes for that. And then you have to see like how much the rates are. I was doing research last night because I'm going to Japan next month. And so we were looking at eSIMs and I found that Discover has an eSIM that is global. It applies to like 170 plus countries for 365 days, gives you a certain amount of gigabytes, and it was actually pretty cheap. I'm going to look into that more. But yeah, so there's like local and global eSIMs. Definitely get that. When you get an eSIM, you don't get a new number, I don't think. So you still have your number, but you're using the data usage from the eSIM. Another travel trip. Don't be afraid to travel alone. Oh my gosh. Like, if you couldn't tell from how meaningful and fun and influential this trip was for me, it was literally like a life changer. Obviously, if you are going to travel alone, like do your research on the place you're going to, what the culture is going to be like, what you should do, shouldn't do, things to expect, all that stuff. And yeah, if you want to meet more people, I definitely recommend staying in hostels. And if you are a type of person who likes alone time, then maybe like look for Airbnbs or hotels or something. But like hostels are definitely a lot cheaper, especially because it's a shared space. But if you do want to meet more people and not feel alone, hostels. Also, solo travel is not solo. It's never solo. And even when you are alone, you're going to meet people. It's inevitable. And if you aren't meeting new people or going out of your way, like there's going to be like sometimes when you are alone, but it's like, that's the beauty of it. Like you kind of learn to live with that solitude and become more comfortable with being by yourself. Actually, I saw this quote. It was like, I'm never by myself. I'm with myself. And I thought that was so beautiful. Like that's such a beautiful mentality to have. Like you aren't by yourself, you know, you're just with yourself. Okay, I'm going to close these blinds because goddamn, it's bright. Okay, if the lighting changed again. Oops. I need to figure out a better lighting situation, but like I said, I love the sun. I'm like a freaking plant. Like, I love the sun. I love nature. I love the outdoors. Nature loves me back because the fucking mosquitoes were no joke, especially at the cenotes because there was water and it was humid there and we couldn't wear bug spray. Bro, the freaking the freaking bug bites I got, the mosquitoes ate my shit up. They wrecked me. I literally had like 30 mosquito bites on my legs from like the few hours we were at that cenote. And then I'm also allergic, so I was like scratching the shit out of them. And it got to the point where usually my mosquito bites will swell up because I'm allergic, but it was so bad that like I pretty much popped the blood vessels and they all turned into bruises. So the swelling just was non-existent. It was just straight bruising. And it looked like I was getting abused out there, bro. It looked like I was getting strangled on my legs. Definitely. Anyway, I recommend solo traveling. I never, ever in my life, especially a year ago, thought I would ever solo travel. I'm very dependent on my friends. I'm very dependent on people. I am constantly wanting to talk to people, you know? I don't know, if you told me a year ago that I was gonna go to a different country all by myself, I would have thought you were crazy. I would have laughed in your face and been like, no, that's the scariest shit ever. Like, hell no, I'm not doing that. But being out there, I like to say that I was in an unfamiliar area, feeling the most comfortable I've ever been. And meeting strangers, I didn't even feel like they were strangers. I felt like they were friends or family members that I had like my whole life, that I've known since I was a kid. The connection you make while solo traveling, the connections you make while solo traveling, and the friends you make, it's like you create a very tight bond with them, because you're all so like-minded. You're all just traveling to explore the world, explore yourself, have fun, enjoy life. And in a way, like, especially if they're living more of a nomadic lifestyle, so kind of just like jumping from place to place, constantly on the move, just traveling from country to country, they're very non-attached to like expectations and to drama and to craving like certain desires and wants and needs and all that stuff. Like, they're just like going and exploring, and it's so lighthearted. And the people you meet, it's just like the mentality they all have definitely has impacted me and changed the way I go about things. I even met this one guy too, who he's from Spain, and he traveled on a boat from on the Atlantic Ocean for like 20 something days with a bunch of other men. And then he was telling me how like he went from one country for like 3 to 4 months. He was working there and living there. And then he moved to another country and was living and working there for 3 to 4 months. And he's just exploring the world, living his life. And it's really beautiful, you know, to just know people are out there doing that. From that friend too, the same friend, I started realizing too how important it is to not let your emotions cloud your judgment, because there were times where I was getting like really emotional and I was feeling like I was just taking like some things personally. And I've just like always been like that with like a lot of situations with my friendships and past partners. I would always take things personally. And I've been working on that, but like going on this trip and just like meeting more people and seeing their mentality and just being put in these situations, I kind of learned that your emotions do cloud your judgment. But like, if you take a step back and, like I said, bring yourself to a detached state, then you kind of see things for how they are and how nothing's ever personal and how things are really never that deep and never not that serious. Yeah. And I've also learned to respect my boundaries even more. Like, a lot of the things I've been working on myself mentally, emotionally, physically, and just like my view and beliefs on life, I think a lot of them got more confirmed and strengthened on this trip. And especially coming back, I feel like I've kind of had like some sort of awakening. My friends at the gym have told me too that like this trip definitely sparked a fire in me, because now that I've traveled, I'm like itching to go on another trip. Like, I'm literally going to Japan in a month, and I'm so excited for that. I actually started a job the beginning of this month, so March 4th, and I had to put in my 2 weeks because HR does not want me to take 2 weeks off to go on a Japan trip, because it's for leisurely activities and I don't have PTO accrued yet, or accrued. I don't know, that's the word. And so I was like, you know what? I am going to go with the flow. I'm gonna let life take me where it wants to take me. I actually found out about a holiday work visa, and So US Americans can get holiday work visas in certain countries. So the countries that I can name off the top of my head are Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, Canada, and I think there's like 3 more that I can't say off the top of my head. But basically, the holiday work visa allows you to go to a different country and live there and work there for like 6 to 12 months. It's very easy to apply for it, especially because like Americans don't really travel like that. So it's unlimited, at least for New Zealand on the research that I've done. New Zealand, like they allow unlimited amount of Americans to go because Americans don't really be doing this stuff. But then they have like a cap off on certain other countries because they don't want like a bunch of those people like coming over there, you know? Or like not too many. They don't want to have like an overflow of it because like too many citizens of other countries want to be going on this holiday work visa. I'm like, okay, well this is not unfortunate that I had to quit my job because honestly, like I wasn't really feeling like super excited for it. And going through the training, I was like, this is not where my passion is. My heart's not here. My head's here. I'm here for the money, but it's like my heart's not in it and I don't want to be somewhere where I'm not fully invested, you know? So yeah, I'm planning on doing a holiday work visa in New Zealand, living there for a few months. And then because Asia is right there, I want to volunteer in Bali, stay in Bali for a little bit, and then maybe do more volunteering in like other parts of Asia, like Thailand. And if I have enough money from working in New Zealand, and depending on like flight prices and all that stuff, I do want to go to Spain. I'm in a rush to go to Spain, but honestly, there's no need to be in a rush. So we'll see if the Spain thing works out. It's funny because New Zealand was never on my bucket list to go to. And honestly, I'm so sorry to say this, especially if you're a New Zealander, if you're a Kiwi. I forget that New Zealand exists. It was never anything I never wanted to go there, you know? But then when I found out the work holiday visa is there, it's one of the countries that has it. And then I was doing more research on it. I was like, oh my God, that's something I definitely have to do, you know? And so now I'm gonna do that. And then just because Asia's cheaper and like close by, I might as well. And so I'm gonna do more backpacking trips. And that's the crazy thing. Like, that's why I'm saying this Cancun trip changed me because I never would have been like, okay, I'm gonna just up and leave and live in a different country. Like I literally told myself, I don't even see myself moving out of California. Like I love California. I don't even know what state I would live in. I was thinking within the US, but now here I am like, oh, let me move to a different country. Like what the fuck? Who am I? So yeah, I'm gonna do that. And I'm like not even scared. I'm not even anxious at all. I'm just like stressed out because finding out the logistics of everything is stressful. But once I'm there, I know it's going to be a grand old time. Like I'm going to be meeting people. I'll make friends everywhere I go. And yeah, after my time is done in New Zealand, Asia, and then we'll just see how much it is to come back home. But yeah, so that being said, just being on this trip myself was very impactful for me, and just meeting all these people, especially people who were like I said, not traveling for just a month like me. Like 1 month was the minimum. If anything, like 3 months was the minimum. People were traveling for like 4 to 6 months or even like up to a year, just all on their own. And I'm just like, bro, that's so crazy. So I definitely want to do more of that. I definitely feel a lot more confident within myself too, because I was able to put myself in an uncomfortable position and do something past my comfort zone and be able to make friends doing something similar, you know, doing something where we're all experiencing and growing and learning and all that stuff. And I still talk to a lot of them every day, or if it's not every day, like every other day or just whenever we can, because a lot of them are still traveling, and I've been home for a month now and a lot of them are still traveling. So it's like, I'm seeing all their stuff on social media and they're still getting back to me and talking to me, and the love that I felt being there with them, meeting them, and I still feel through the voice messages we send or the texts we send. It's very reassuring and loving, and it's just a beautiful community. I couldn't be more grateful or happy with how the trip turned out. A lot of stuff happened. I met so many people that I never would have expected to experience or meet or anything like that. Just taking that trip and to like internalize the stuff I learned, and I'm just every day growing and reflecting on a lot of the stuff that I learned and I'm continuously learning about myself. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I'm rambling now, but you get the gist of it. I think this is your sign to freaking just go out and travel, solo travel, even if it's like for just a few weeks or something. Or I don't know, I recommend trying the work exchange volunteer stuff. It's worth it. You meet beautiful people. You meet amazing people. It's worth it. Now my life is doing a complete 180. Like I'm going to be moving out of this hometown of mine. Like I did move out of this hometown and I moved up to live by myself after college. And I came back and I was like, this is different, but I'll be living here just for a little bit to see where life takes me. And this is where life's taking me. So like, damn, this is great. I love it. I'm very content with life. I've never been more confident, and I'm feeling very like sure of myself. And my mentality around like being embarrassed and being socially anxious, or just anxious in general, like it's all a mindset. And I'm starting to see things more for how they are realistically instead of emotionally. And I'm allowing more strength to come through to where I'm no longer feeling fear. Fear is no longer controlling me. At least right now. Like scary stuff's gonna happen. Like fucking, I did my taxes today. But anyway, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. And maybe I'll be in New Zealand. Maybe I'll be in Japan. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm also trying to find a summer job. I'm just trying to make money so I can go to New Zealand. So, it's rough out here, so I just finished editing the podcast episode and I realized I never actually showed my tattoo in detail or even explained it. So I'm just gonna insert a picture right here. And if you look at it, you can see there's the world map and the compass, obviously pertaining to me going on my first solo trip and wanting to do more trips, whether that be with people or just by myself. Like, I'm not afraid to do that anymore. So I definitely want to do a lot more traveling, seeing a lot more of the world, and me getting this tattoo kind of just like shows me this trip kind of sparked that for me. And then the 2 circles of the beach, because I was in Cancun. I went to the beach a lot. The bottom triangle means to keep an open mind, to be open to change. And then the top triangle means to never stop exploring. And then the spiritual symbol around the S is because I was teaching yoga 6 times a week in Cancun, and I'm kind of on just this spiritual journey as well. I was like, I have to put this, and it's a symbol meaning pranayama, which also means breath. It's natural to the body. It's the first thing you do when you enter this world. It's the last thing you do when you exit the world. It helps ground you anytime you're feeling like anxious or stressed out. As long as you just bring yourself to the present moment with your breath, everything's gonna be okay. So I put that on there too. And this whole entire tattoo just pulls together everything from this trip and what it meant to me. And yeah. Life is not that serious. Peace out, bitches.